Intermittent fasting can be super beneficial for sustainable weight loss. However, it can be a little bit of a tricky road to navigate. If you've tried diet after diet and still can't maintain a healthy weight, intermittent fasting might be something you want to consider experimenting with. Now, there are different ways to do this, and some are more effective than others, obviously. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you how you might benefit from intermittent fasting and how to utilize this super simple tool to make it work for you. Now, there are physical and psychological benefits of going for extended periods of time without eating or drinking anything with calories. So we'll dive into both of these today. All right, welcome back to the Wellness Abundance Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa King, board certified health and wellness coach and certified personal trainer through ACE and Girls Gone Strong certified women's health coach. Okay, so before we dive into any of the ins and outs of intermittent fasting, tips for weight loss, let's talk about what intermittent fasting actually is and how you can benefit from it. Okay, so what is intermittent fasting? Well, intermittent fasting is an extended period of time, usually at least 8 hours, that you go without consuming any energy, aka calories. Calories are energy that we consume in the form of food and beverages, okay? So plain unflavored water has no calories in it, so it's totally okay to drink water when you're fasting. And I'm going to really state the obvious here that I highly recommend that you actually do drink a lot of water while you're fasting. Now, I realize this kind of sounds like common sense, but I just want to be super clear because intermittent fasting is, while it is a very simple tool, there is a way to do it safely. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So when I'm fasting, I usually drink more water than usual because I'm not getting any additional hydration from food, because there is food in our water. Even if you eat meat, there is water in muscle meat. If you eat fish, there's water in fish. If you eat vegetables and fruits, there is water in there. So just be sure to drink a little bit more water or a lot more, just really depending on how you feel. I'll do a whole nother episode on hydration, and also maybe in that episode talk about why having a specific recommendation for everyone is not necessarily good. But that's a topic for another episode. All right, now let's talk about the benefits of intermittent fasting. So the first and probably one of the most important benefits, in my opinion, is intermittent fasting is really your body's built-in healer. So when your body's not having to metabolize food and beverages, it's like, all right, we need something to do. So we're going to take out the trash, and yes, that is in quotes. So this take out the trash process kicks in. So what does this mean? So basically your body gets rid of all the cells that can cause cancer, heart disease, which by the way increases in women as we age due to lower estrogen levels. Yes, estrogen helps protect your heart, ladies, and any other diseases, okay? So this process can also boost your immune system, which is obviously a win because seriously, who wants to get sick? And I've also noticed that when I'm really sick and my body's working really hard to fight off a virus like say COVID, I usually don't have an appetite. If I just have your normal standard common head cold, I usually do have an appetite, but I do notice I don't really have as much as an appetite. So this is my body's way of really just going to work and kicking up the immune system and taking out the trash. So, okay, intermittent fasting also activates your inner fat burner, which obviously is what we all want, right? So when you fast and your body needs energy, it will get energy in one of two ways. It will dip into your fat stores, and not just like the adipose tissue, but any kind of other types of fat on or in your body, okay? Or it will make glucose. Yes, your body can make glucose and it makes it from protein. So just one caveat about your body making glucose is it either makes it from the protein you consume, i.e. like meat or eggs, or from your lean muscle mass. So if you're working on building muscle, long periods of fasting of, I don't know, let's say 12 hours or more may not be the best for you. So when your body is forced to dip into its fat stores, what does it do? Well, it burns more fat, right? So this is one of the huge benefits, again, and it activates your inner fat burner. All right, this next one is kind of more, so the first two were more physiological benefits. This next one is really kind of I would say, physical and psychological benefit, okay? So one thing I noticed when I started intermittent fasting about 13 years ago, like really doing it intentionally, is that I learned that I was eating when I actually wasn't hungry. If you felt like that, you can raise your hand, okay? And raise it high in the air, and I'm seriously like, be proud that you're raising your hand, because really being self-aware of this is huge. It's a huge step forward, and now that you know that you're eating when you're not actually hungry, or you're just bored, or for whatever emotional reason, you can do something about it, and you could take action and do something different. Looking back, this was probably the catalyst for my weight loss at the time. And I remember when my now husband introduced me to intermittent fasting, I totally thought he was crazy. Like, seriously, like skipping a meal to me was not something that I considered healthy. So I was like, what in the world are you talking about? So after a while, my body adjusted to it, and it completely changed my life. So while I struggle with my hunger cues, mostly when I'm super tired or super stressed, I've learned how to tell the difference between eating just to eat or eating to give my body nutrients that it needs. So if you think you could be eating when you're bored, but you're not quite sure, experiment with intermittent fasting. Okay, now this next one is really a psychological benefit, and it kind of piggybacks off the last one. Basically, take your power back from the pantry. Okay, this is one of the huge benefits of intermittent fasting. So, as I mentioned, this one piggybacks off of dialing in your hunger cues. So this can help you scale back your snacking if you're a snacker, which I am. I love snacking. So, but one thing I've noticed when I'm doing a planned fast, I don't snack at all. So when I do an intentional fast, and I'll define these in a minute, it's usually because I've eaten like a huge meal the night before, which happens pretty much every single Thanksgiving, and indulged in baked goods and more booze than usual. So this is how I don't overconsume calories when I already know I've eaten way too much the previous day. So if you're a snacker, especially after dinner, this is an important one, experimenting with intermittent fasting, say not eating after 7 p.m. could actually help kick any nighttime snacking habits. Okay, so before you start experimenting with intermittent fasting, you'll want to ask yourself these questions. First of all, what am I looking to get out of intermittent fasting? You really want to know why you're doing it. It's probably not a good idea to start intermittent fasting because it's trending on TikTok, or because it's trending in your friend group, or it's trending at the office, okay? If it's trending anywhere and that's why you're doing it, it's probably not a good fit for you. However, if it is trending and you've thought, maybe I could benefit from this. I snack when I probably shouldn't be. I could use to get more in tune with my hunger cues. Then yes, go for it. But don't do it just because it's trendy. This isn't a fashion statement, okay? And the next question is, do I ever feel hangry when I'm hungry? If you're hangry, where you get like so incredibly grumpy, if you don't eat after 3 hours or 4 hours, intermittent fasting probably isn't going to be a good fit for you at this time, because you're just going to go through this cycle of being hangry all the time, and it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be beneficial for you. And I'll talk about that, how to not be hangry. So, and the other question is, do I have energy lulls in the afternoon? If you have energy lulls in the afternoon, this probably means that your blood sugar is kind of going up and down and up and down and up and down. Now, there are solutions for this, to kind of getting your blood sugar levels under control, eating more whole foods, scaling back on the processed food, and moving your body more, getting proper sleep. These are all things, and it takes your body some time to adjust to these. So if you've just started doing this, maybe hold off on intermittent fasting for a little while until you're at least, I think, 4 to 6 weeks into your new eating style. Okay, now this last question is a super, super important one for men and especially for women, okay? Do I have, or have I had, an eating disorder, okay? This is probably the most important question to ask yourself before you even consider intermittent fasting, because if you've had an eating disorder, do not experiment with intermittent fasting. It's just gonna mess you up emotionally, physically, mentally. It's gonna cause all sorts of chaos. Eating disorders are very sensitive and should definitely be approached with a lot of empathy and caution, when it comes to a new eating style. So if you are working with a professional with your eating disorder, or have in the past, and you want to experiment with intermittent fasting, definitely chat with them first, because if it were my client, I would encourage them not to experiment with intermittent fasting. So, and I'm not an eating disorder specialist or expert, so I would always refer back to your professional. Okay, so these are all questions I ask my clients if they want to implement intermittent fasting into their life, and here's why. Intermittent fasting may not be a good fit for you if, like I said, you're doing it just because it's healthy, or your bestie is doing it and it works for her. So your body is completely unique, and which means what works for your bestie may not work for you, okay? Plus, you'll probably need to make some changes to your schedule. So if you're not willing to do that, it might not be a good fit for you at this time. So if you're at a point where you need to make a few lifestyle habit tweaks, and you're willing to make the changes necessary, then do it and be strategic about it. This is where working with a health coach like myself can help guide you through the process. Okay, so how do you be strategic about intermittent fasting? I know I'm all about strategy with flexibility, and you may hear this a lot. It may sound repetitive, but really, honestly, when you're creating new habits, it's super important to have some sort of strategy in place, no matter how small it is. So Okay, if you feel hangry, like I talked about, you're probably not ready for intermittent fasting, other than when you sleep. So you may be eating too many processed foods like pizza, sandwiches, breads, bagels, cereal. Yes, cereal is included in that. And not enough whole foods. So this means your body is relying on external calories, aka food, for energy too frequently throughout the day to maintain your energy levels. So remember I mentioned energy lulls in the middle of the day? Yeah, it's probably could be a variety of reasons why this is happening, but one of them very well could be that you're just eating too many processed foods and your blood sugars going up and down and up and down. So, but on the other hand, when you're eating like super satisfying, like nutrient dense foods such as chicken, beef, and eggs, along with healthy fats, avocado, butter, and you eat enough of it in one sitting, your body it slowly metabolizes that food, because what it does is it metabolizes it and it kind of tells the nutrients where to go within the body, okay? So, and this will give you more consistent energy levels throughout the day without having to refuel with food every 3 to 4 hours, because who has time to eat every 3 to 4 hours? When I learned about intermittent fasting and really trained my body to be a fat burner, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is so great. I actually don't need to eat every 3 to 4 hours, which just made my life so much easier. Okay, so if this is you and you truly want to experiment with intermittent fasting to either jumpstart your weight loss, or if maybe you're in a weight loss plateau and you've just been stuck at the same weight for weeks on end, focusing on eating whole foods every day for at least 21 days will help you start training your body to activate that inner fat burner, okay, that I talked about earlier. So this means eating protein forward meals. I know it feels like protein is trending these days on social media. I get it. However, it's not trending, okay? I can tell you this right now. It's not trending and it's not trendy. It is essential. Like, our body needs protein to build lean muscle mass, maintain a healthy weight, especially for women. As we age, we lose muscle mass faster than men do. So we really need to make sure we're eating enough protein to really rebuild our muscle and maintain it and mitigate any muscle loss. So how do you do this? I know it could be very tricky and it can be difficult in the beginning to eat enough protein. So basically, a great starting point is when you're putting a meal together, choose and eat your protein first. So really think outside the box with this one, like think outside the cereal box. So you don't need to eat eggs every day for breakfast. Throw some chicken or leftover meat from dinner the night before on your breakfast plate. This is where I mean think outside the box. Years ago, like decades ago, we started categorizing foods like this is breakfast, this is lunch. We eat cereal and oatmeal and bagels and toast for breakfast. Yes, eggs and bacon are thrown in there, and pancakes and waffles. Okay. For lunch, what do we eat? A salad or sandwich or soup, which is great. And dinner, that's when we have the meat, the veggies, and the starchy veggies. Well, food is food. Whole food is whole food. So what if you focused on eating whole food every single meal of the day and just eliminated the idea of categorizing breakfast food, lunch food, and dinner food? So it's super easy, super easy to do this. I promise you it is, once you kind of flip the script with your mindset. So, and by the way, if you haven't done so already, check out my podcast, 3 Signs You're Not Eating Enough Protein. This could be motivation and inspiration for you to put together more protein forward meals. Okay, so one of my super easy go-to protein forward breakfasts during the week is hard-boiled eggs We buy them cooked, peeled, and ready to eat from Costco if they're available. So we buy them in bulk. And cooked breakfast sausages without the nitrates. Okay, these are good for you sausages. So all I need to do is open the egg, open the eggs, pop them in a bowl. I'll season them with salt, pepper. Sometimes I'll put some hot sauce on there, whatever I'm in the mood for. And I'll pop the sausages in the microwave because they're already cooked. And voila, I have a nutrient-dense, protein-forward meal to really help me feel full until my midday meal if I'm hungry midday. All right, so remember earlier how I talked about you may need to make some changes to your schedule, rearrange some things. This is where you might need to do that. So because it might take a bit of planning in the beginning, because if you're so used to popping a bagel in the toaster, spreading some cream cheese on it, eating it, and then running out the door, you're gonna need to make some changes and some adjustments to your schedule to make this happen, because it could take a little bit longer. So this is something I work out with my clients all the time. This is basically a bulk of our coaching conversations, is how to implement these things. So I guarantee you it's totally worth it when you do this. So you're going to experience more consistent energy levels throughout the day and other benefits such as better sleep and improved mood and sustainable weight loss, which is what we all want, right? And a sustainable, healthy weight. Okay, so where do you start with intermittent fasting? Well, okay, let's just kind of go over those questions again real quick. So if you're already eating whole foods most of the time and you don't get hangry and you don't have an eating disorder, you're probably ready to start experimenting with intermittent fasting. So what do you do? Okay, now there are several ways to do this. One way is to have a condensed eating window every day. So a great way to start with this is to simply extend your morning fast by a few hours. So for example, if you're finished with dinner by 7 p.m. and you eat breakfast at 6 a.m. the next morning, which is technically an 11-hour fast, try waiting until 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to eat your first meal of the day. Now, if this isn't possible, just try a 12-hour fast where you cut off your eating window at 7 p.m. and then you eat your breakfast at 7 a.m. So again, you may need to make some morning shifts to your nighttime or morning schedule, depending on what that looks like for you. So, and another maybe easier option to start with and more convenient way would be to start with extending your fast in the morning on the weekend when you don't really need to be somewhere at a specific time. So this will give you obviously more flexibility to make some shifts in your morning routine. And by the way, you don't have to do intermittent fasting every day of the week for it to be effective. I fast occasionally. I do. We usually definitely stop eating by 8 p.m. most of the time between 7 and 7:30 p.m. at night. And I usually don't eat my breakfast until 8:30 the next morning. So I always do at least a 12-hour fast every night, but when I extend it to like a 16-hour fast, it doesn't happen very often. Sometimes it'll be on the weekends where, we do a longer workout in the morning on Saturday mornings and we don't eat until 11 a.m. That's our first meal, or 10 a.m. So I don't do this very often. So this is where it's super important to really think about whether or not you're willing to make changes to your schedule. So if it's too stressful for you to shift 10 things around in the morning, then don't do it, okay? It will only cause more stress, and obviously it's going to be counterproductive to its purpose. A healthier body, right? So just either do it on the weekends or just don't do it for now, and maybe keep thinking and brainstorming ideas on how you can make it work down the road. Okay, now if you're ready to do this and you really want to activate your inner fat burner, my 4-week summer slim down is still available for enrollment, and this will help you get your whole food eating style dialed in so you can experiment with fasting and get the results that you want. This is a self-paced program that walks you through how to create a whole food eating style that works for you. So you'll also learn how to create fitness and sleep routines that helps your body burn fat more efficiently. If you want some coaching, I offer a group coaching 6-week healthy habit reset group coaching program. And this is really cool because you get to gather 4 or 5 of your friends and you do this as a group together. Okay, so it's a great way for you to connect with your friends. If anything's trending in your friend circle and you guys want that accountability with a coach by your side, definitely reach out to me. And if you want more focused one-on-one private coaching, my Wellness Abundance Your Way program is just that. And it starts with 4 weeks, 4 coaching sessions, and then you build it upon there. It's totally customizable to you. So, all right, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.